So far in the course, reducing SOQL queries has mostly come from the standpoint of choosing the right queries to do, including going broad and then filtering down. In reality, there's a little bit of messy chaos that happens in organizations when it comes to object transactions. A few strategies for minimizing SOQL queries include the following. Consolidation. This is what we generally refer to when we run a more broad query that doesn't restrict as narrowly as maybe it could via a where clause, and then use conditionals and a loop to retrieve records out of the query result sets. Those results might then be filtered into different collections in memory and used elsewhere in the logic. The singleton pattern is highly useful, and that will be the highlight here, as the singleton is the concept of ensuring that only one instance of a given object exists within the context. In this case, we're really talking about only one set of query results ever coming back for a given query, or avoiding repeated runs of the query. On the more advanced side, you might even go so far as to build a handler or a system for handling queries. At one point in my career, I built a query handler that would actually raise alerts or notifications when object transactions were running 75% of the real allowed query limit, allowing the development team to receive a warning about when we were approaching the limit on a given transaction. In order for this to work, it required that all SOQL queries would run through a single entry point, which can be customized to count queries, as well as enforce the singleton pattern for each given query unless overridden. Creating a full-blown handler is perhaps a more extreme option, and certainly one that incorporates the first two shown here. It's probably best for larger orgs that have a lot of metadata and tons of logic in transactions. It's designed to go alongside sophisticated monitoring standards. I won't be building a full-blown query handling system here in this course, but I do want to make you aware that it's the sort of solution that's possible if you'd like very fine-grained control and notifications over the state of SOQL in your Salesforce org. Okay, but back to the singleton pattern for a second. The singleton ensures that an object can only ever return a single instance and is never reinitialized, especially reinitialized unintentionally from some other development work that may end up acting on an object transaction. Let's take a look at a situation where this may be relevant. If a query is set to run without any null condition behind it, then it will execute each time its implementation is called. In this code example here, this is what I'm indicating. I have a getter and a setter on this list of account, and in the instance of the get, it's going to call this method that runs the query each and every time. And that's bad because if there are multiple instances where that data is needed, then that results in one query for each call, and that can add up if all the queries are done this way. In this case, if I do 3 debug statements that refer to the result set's size, each one of these debug statements is calling the getter, and this results in the query being run again. This is 3 queries, when really it only needs to be 1. The fix for this is very small and simple, but very powerful. Just add a null condition to the collection. If I write out a different collection that uses the null condition in the getter, then it will only run the query the very first time the collection is being initialized. After that, the collection is never null, so it will always just return the original result set. Then, if I do the same operation again with 3 debug statements, this will only result in a single query. This exists for you to try out for yourself in the course example materials, so feel free to find this code in its associated class and see for yourself. This simple handling of SOQL can ensure that queries do not run more often than they should. In some cases, you may not want to have a null condition, and in that instance, you can easily have the query run repeatedly if it needs to. At least this way, if you go with this as a default solution, you'll minimize the work being done.